This video is sponsored by Shopify.
Today, we're going to look at celebrity coffee brands. They are a brand new thing, it feels like. They're kind of exploding in popularity. Once they did wineries, once celebrities started tequila brands, now they're getting into coffee. And I figured I might be uniquely placed to kind of take you behind the scenes to explain why they're doing this, how they're doing this, and then at the end, we're going to taste them and see if they taste any good. I think you can split celebrity coffee brands into two rough categories. Category 1, which is kind of merch. Category 2, aspirational brands. Now, often I think celebrities, or in some cases groups, musicians, will start kind of coffee brands as kind of add-on merch. A big part of, say, Korn's business is going to be merchandise when they're touring. They're used to selling t-shirts, all that kind of stuff alongside the music. And coffee, I think, has proven to be tempting because of two words that have made apps on your phone terrible. Recurring revenue. With a t-shirt, yeah, you might go to a gig, buy a shirt, but you're not going to buy another t-shirt until you go to maybe another gig. If I could sell you something like coffee, well then maybe you like the coffee and you buy that every month, and it's like a t-shirt sale every month. This selection here, I think, is a pretty good example of kind of additional merch. These kind of were built to be separate, distinct brands, which I think involves the kind of creators or founders trying to go on a kind of brand building journey with a route, ultimately, I think, to selling those brands. And I think Hugh Jackman did kind of forge that path. He started Laughing Man, I think, back in 2009. That was ultimately sold to Keurig in 2014. So while there is still a Laughing Man brand, there's a Laughing Man cafe, Hugh Jackman is no longer involved. He has exited the business. I think one of the big differences between these two is the way they're kind of targeting an audience. You're going to buy Machine Gun Kelly's coffee because you like Machine Gun Kelly. You need to have a pre-existing relationship, and that is both an opportunity and also a kind of confinement. It's hard to sell this to someone who doesn't know who Machine Gun Kelly is unless they happen to really like the bag. What I think the aspiration with these is to kind of create a kind of new relationship, and you don't have to necessarily have a relationship with Robert Downey Jr., he hopes, for you to buy this coffee. It needs to be kind of wider than that. The underlying business model of these is almost identical. How they are conceived, how they are developed, how they are manufactured is kind of the same. I started in coffee 20 odd years ago, and maybe 16 years ago, started a coffee roasting company. And my whole process has been, well, obviously I would want to roast the coffee and control it and buy the kind of coffees that I'm excited about, or, as a company, do that thing, have a vision, execute on it, and do it all in-house. You'd want to do that. Why would you not want to do that? None of them own a coffee roasting company. Not one. They're all kind of manufactured on behalf of the brand. When I first saw that Chamberlain Coffee existed, I presumed it was going to be like this, an extension of merch. And then Chamberlain Coffee raised millions of dollars. And my first thought was, I guess they need to build a roastery to kind of start roasting their own coffee and do that whole thing. That's normal for the coffee obsessed. But Emma Chamberlain is maybe not coffee obsessed in quite the same way. I'm not saying she doesn't love coffee. I think she clearly does love coffee. I don't think she's weird about coffee. I think that's probably fair.
Like, I'm still a home barista at the end of the day. Like, I'm not this fancy, I'm not weighing out the beans and shit.
Clearly, the way this kind of works is that someone's going to make this product for them. So they're going to be buying from a manufacturer finished bags of Chamberlain coffee that are kind of built to spec, and then they sell that on to you, a consumer, or to grocery or to other places. And that should be profitable to do that. They should be selling it for more than they paid for it, you would hope. That's, the nature of business. But maybe not much more. And maybe then you need money for marketing and all those kind of things, because you don't actually make very much money selling the product. The model you're chasing, the kind of business model you're chasing, is an exit like Hugh Jackman had. For something like Chamberlain Coffee, the only companies that would really want to buy it are people who want access to the kind of audience that it's created. So if you're a really huge coffee roasting company, well, Chamberlain Coffee could say, look, we are able to sell this brand to this demographic, and if you buy that company, well, you just buy the margin back, because you could manufacture that coffee yourself, and you could sell it and capture all of the profit instead of having to have a kind of middleman in the middle, which is kind of Chamberlain Coffee. Now you might ask, Robert Downey Jr., you've got a lot of money. Why do this? And it kind of bothers me at the back of my brain. But I think the answer, in a weird sort of way, lies in Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. The Rock was, for 3 consecutive years, the highest paid actor in the world. This is perhaps one of the most famous entertainers, the most successful entertainers of all time. For some reason, Twitter occasionally shows me sort of him and as a promoted sort of person to follow. His bio is fascinating. It simply says, founder of stuff. You can be the most successful entertainer in the world. What you want to flex is that you're a founder. You're an entrepreneur. And look, it's not to say that that isn't important or useful or beneficial or any of those things. It's just weird that that's the kind of the peak of the mountain. And I think that's kind of what this is here. Downey Jr., I suspect, wants to build a brand and be successful. That's the ultimate success. It's not fame anymore, somehow. It's the kind of being good at business is the ultimate competency. I confess there may be a bit of a bias towards the US in that particular sentiment. That's a very American way of thinking about these things. But I do think it's important to kind of highlight. Now, in the world of coffee roasting, it is important to acknowledge that I think there's now a kind of real split out there. There is the world of commercial roasting, of contract manufacturing, and then there's the world of specialty coffee roasting, which has seen that real explosion in the last 10, 15, maybe 20 years, where passionate people obsessed with coffee start businesses and they want to source specific coffees, roast them with the utmost care and attention, and sell them to people who want to enjoy the kind of diversity of coffee's amazing flavors. I think I was one of those people. You know, when we started a coffee roasting business 16 years ago, that was the driver, the urge to source and roast and share things that we were extremely passionate about. And we did that thanks to the sponsor of this video, which is Shopify. And I explain that journey in this short ad. Now, if you don't know Shopify, it's a commerce platform that allows you to start, grow, and manage your business online. And for me, it's been incredible and a massive part of our own journey. When we started the coffee roasting business back August 13th, 2008, that is when we took our very first order online with Shopify. It's a long time ago now, but Shopify has grown with us all the way. It's been incredible because back then we were a little tiny business. For the first year, we averaged maybe 3 or 4 orders a day online. Some years later, when we did the world's largest coffee tasting, the second one, in a single day, we took over 10,000 orders. And there was no way that that platform was ever going to fall over. It's built to scale with you from the smallest to the biggest of businesses. It, for me, has been incredibly easy and intuitive to use to start to build a store, and not just a beautiful store, a store that works. In particular, their checkout flow, super useful. The conversions, I think, are the best out there, outperforming most other people by like 36%. So you're setting yourself up to win if you're trying to sell things online. And it's not just been the coffee company that we used Shopify for. When it came time to sell the limited edition merch that we make here, of course, straight to Shopify, because it was easy to build and replicate that store as we opened up in the US and also in Europe too. All of that then plugs in so easily to other things like third-party fulfillment that made it possible for us to sell things like the dosing trays all over the world. More than that, the back-end reporting, the analytics are intuitive, and more than anything else, they are useful to you as well. And as an aside, I can't help but notice that of the brands that we're looking at today, a lot of them are building their businesses on Shopify. If you're thinking about selling online or anywhere really, then I suggest you give Shopify a trial. And if you go to shopify.com/James Hoffmann, you can get a free trial. You can also use the QR code that's on screen now. Thank you so much to Shopify for sponsoring this video. So now, let me take you behind the scenes of all of this. I did mention just before that, when Square Mile did the world's largest coffee tasting, it was a huge logistical challenge. We took a load of orders in really quickly, and we needed help with that. And so we worked with a company, one of the largest coffee roasters in the UK that you've never heard of. They tend to want to remain in the shadows, kind of out of the limelight. They're called Master Roast. They're based up in a city called Peterborough, and they helped with all the logistics of the whole thing, with packaging it and getting it boxed up and distributed it out. But I wanted to show you the process, how this actually happens, not just from a manufacturing perspective, but from a kind of brand creation perspective. Very kindly, Matthew Mills, who's the kind of commercial director there, agreed to talk to us about this whole process. They roast for over 1,000 different brands, which is wild to think about. And this conversation, I think, is super interesting. Thank you very much for talking to me. Now, for this conversation, ignore the fact that I have any involvement in a coffee roasting company. Let's imagine that I have a YouTube channel with maybe a couple million subscribers, and I'm thinking maybe a coffee brand would be a really good fit for my audience. And so I want to come to you to kind of ask, how does it all work? Obviously, we'd need a brand for it. We have prepared a brand. So this is going to be Hoffy. I've got a logo, I've got an idea, I've got a brand name, I've got nothing else.
The first stage really when we're developing a brand for a client is understand a little bit more about the brand. Where is it positioned? What is it you want to achieve with it? We have a library of coffees. I mean, so we're sourcing somewhere between 200 and 250 types of green coffee. There's a very fair high percentage chance that we will cover what you already need and want to do. However, we also have clients who will come in and define exactly what they want. They may already have a relationship with X producer group or X single estate, or they will have a defined idea of, I'm looking for this flavor profile from this origin, from this process. It then is about, with our coffee development team, tailoring those flavors, single origins, blends, understanding what your consumers are going to use the coffee with. You know, is it pour over? Is it a bean to cup machine? Is it a home espresso machine? As you've now been around the factory, the team is almost operating on a paint by numbers. We no longer produce products, we produce a code. So that code, that every blend will have a code. That raw material has to be managed in that, and so the team are only managing that. We don't change blends or anything. You're in control of the process. You own the facility, basically. So my team just execute your instructions. You can define how far you want to go, i.e. with the coffee, also with the packaging. So we'll go and do fully bespoke, and we can go and get the artwork. We can have a design team that can help you do the artwork. Or you say, do me a label quickly, easily, and I can do a label. We can do a label within the next couple of days. You sign off to the artwork, and it gets on a generic bag and a label.
If I want custom bags, there's going to be a minimum order at some point of like foil and packaging and stuff. So at what point is that a viable minimum yearly order, let's call it that? Like, how much coffee would I need to buy to really have my own bags and have that work?
That's through us, almost nothing. It really is. If you want that fully bespoke packaging, it'll be based on the packaging, not the coffee run. The half sensible number is about 2,000 bags of stand-up pouches, for argument's sake. Now, again, still very expensive for the product or the packaging. And once you get to 5,000, 10,000, etc., then it starts to make sense commercially. But you can launch with 2,000 bags, and we'll do that together with you and find a way to make it work. Okay.
And do I have to buy that packaging and send it to you? How does that?
It's a little bit open-ended. What we say for new customers, so if someone we don't know, then quite often because of that commitment, we're financing. So we'll probably ask you to cover the cost up front. However, once you're part of the business and we know there's a trading history and we have those relationships, we're also a bank. At any given time, we probably have somewhere between £4 to £5 million worth of packaging on our books. We enable our customers to try and focus on driving their business, which is selling more coffee. So the more we can enable them, they just have to pay for the finished good. Obviously, we're protected. We'll have an underwriting of that packaging. So if they don't use it, they change the brand, then obviously they'll have to pay for the packaging. But aside from that, we try and sort of manage it that way.
How does the next stage work? Are you going to deliver that to my house and it's going to be me in my bedroom kind of packaging coffee, putting an envelope, sending it out? Or, do I need to then find a space, like a little warehouse?
These days it's pretty straightforward. It's a dedicated service. So our other business that you've seen, they follow, again, your instructions. So as your consumers and your subscribers order the product, whether it's a subscription service or just ad hoc e-commerce, those orders will run straight the way through the facility. They'll pick out the unit or the box or however you want it structured and ship through post office or DPD or one of the other couriers.
There's a commitment to, say, packaging, and I might have to front some money for that. But apart from that, there's not a lot of upfront cost for this.
No.
Is that fair?
Yes.
So for the success of Hoffy, if it's so easy to do, I'm curious, what makes a successful brand then?
It's the more impassioned you are within your coffee and your brand, the better chance of it being a success, obviously. A lot of that comes down to the business acumen of the founder and owner. It's understanding how to use data, how to use e-commerce module, how to use sponsorship, etc., how to use marketing to get in front of the consumer. And that's a business skill set. Once you tap into that, one of the comments, this idea of celebrity coffee is monetizing your access to a consumer, monetizing a image. And coffee is one of those now wonderful products that is enjoyed by many consumers.
If I want to sell Hoffy, am I going to look stupid for not having built a roastery and built a facility first in order to sell the brand effectively?
I would say that not having a facility is a bonus, because many of the companies who you're looking to sell to are not going to want the cost associated with disassembling that. And they can manage the manufacturing outside anyway. So quite often, and we've had these conversations where sometimes the private equity will actually discount the value of the asset itself against the brand as a negative. If you do come to exit, you may look to sell to another roasting company already who want to add that brand to their portfolio, and therefore they're not interested in yet another facility. They'll just they'll buy that to get additional volume to facilitate their existing platform.
In that case, I'll just say thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
It's lovely to actually see you again and do that. It's been a long time.
It's tasting time. And I think one of the things from talking to Matthew that I thought about quite a lot was the idea that the taste of a coffee has to kind of match the brand. Your expectations of flavor are kind of brand aligned in a weird sort of way. 7 cups of coffee here, 7 of the kind of celebrity brands to taste. I don't know what they are. I'm going to taste them blind and try and match the cup to the brand, as well as talk about how they taste, because I think that's kind of potentially kind of interesting. Like, does this taste of berries and optimism? There will, of course, be a slurp-free track available in the audio down below. Just select a different audio track and you'll be slurp-free. Okay, one of them is notably lighter than all of the rest of them. Not necessarily in a good way. This one is the one labeled as the dark roasted one. There's a bunch of stuff in here about different coffee beans. There's a lot going on, but it's very dark. I'm going with you. Having had a look at Machine Gun Kelly's packaging here, it has the most information. It is a honey processed coffee. The roast level is light. The tasting notes are honey nut, vanilla wafer, and sugarcane. The lightest tasting bowl here is this one here. The Chamberlain coffee, this is also their light roast. Citrus, caramel, and milk chocolate. I feel like it might be you. Yeah. Let's bring you around here. Millie Bobby Brown. Hugh Jackman. Well, not Hugh Jackman anymore, obviously. Bright, suggestions of acidity. Rich, suggestions of dark roastedness. Crisp, suggestions of acidity. No idea what's in Hugh's blend. Absolutely no information. And the tasting notes, more of a vibe than anything else. And then we've also got the Ethiopian coffee. Now that should be, you would expect it to be characterful enough. It's not how I would expect an Ethiopian coffee to taste, but it's the kind of most perfumed and unusual of the coffees here. So I'm going to call you. So we've got Happy with berries and optimism. Millie Bobby Brown, which is a Brazil Guatemala medium to dark. Should we reveal how badly I've done? Millie Bobby Brown! I'm 1 for 1 so far. Rocking and a roasting. It's also correct. Okay, that's good. No. It's Robert Downey Jr. No. Oh, this is Emma Chamberlain over here. It's got to be corn. I feel like if this isn't corn, it's corn. It's corn! So now I think we have to be confident that this is in fact the Laughing Man. It is the Laughing Man. Which means Machine Gun Kelly over here with the lightest roast of the day, the most specialty coffee of the day, the most expensive coffee of the day. These 3 here really are flavor-wise very, very similar. None of them are coffee-driven brands. They're all personality, characterful, marketing-driven brands where the coffee has to be of a quality that matches the price point and the experience that kind of matches up. I think if you do like lighter roasts, for not much more money, you can get a lot more complexity from more traceable coffees, ultimately. These are built to be stable products, right? That's what we talked about in product development. This is supposed to taste the same every single time you buy an awkward tub of it, or a bag, quite sensibly. It's not supposed to have the diversity of flavor that some of us really, really sort of appreciate and are obsessed by. It'll be interesting to see where these go. I feel like this one is probably the most primed for success as a kind of model market, engaging a new type of consumer, that kind of thing that might make it attractive to someone as a buyer. But it'll be interesting to see how this one goes as well. We've already seen the kind of, pioneering story of famous person makes a coffee brand and sells it. Did we miss anyone? Is there someone you wanted us to source coffee from and review? I know there's been a couple of sort of new celebrity coffee brands pop up in the last couple of months even. What kind of questions didn't we answer in this video? I would love to hear your thoughts, your ideas, your feedback if you've tried any of these brands down in the comments below. As for Hoffy Coffee, you might remember this guy from earlier on. Well, we're going to do a really small run of t-shirts. They're going to be limited availability. They're going to be available for a short window and then they'll be gone forever. I'll leave a link to them down in the description down below if you want to pick one up. They're just too ridiculous not to do a little something with. For now though, I will say thank you so much for watching and I hope you have a great day.